Okay.
Hi.
What?
It's just an awesome opening.
Oh,
Oh, I liked it.
So, filler words. We're gonna go do Angular stuff. Oh, we were doing Angular stuff, but we didn't download Angular stuff because of reasons. So we're gonna go back to Angular stuff.
Okay.
Cool. Hi.
Oh, baby.
This is a pain. Okay. Or were we going straight into Ionic? I mean, I made the thing called Angular, so we should probably go into Angular. What do you remember? Let me ask you that.
We were in front of a computer, sitting in these chairs, and we talked about things.
We really need to be more freaking consistent. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Okay. Cool. I think I ran through kind of the way that Angular set things up.
Who's this little angular fencing dude?
That is something not Angular. Kendo UI. I don't know what that is, but it sounds expensive. And by expensive, I mean not free.
Ah, yes.
Because that's the world of
There's a thing
expensive.
right there that says remove ads, so that is an ad.
Well, and it says free trial. So, cool. So, I think I already kind of walked through these kind of structure of how this is all doing stuff. And, yeah, nothing's really going on.
Okay, so we needed to download it?
No, I think we're just going to, play with it here. And then we'll download Ionic because Ionic is what we're going to end up using.
Okay, so what are we doing in Angular then? Just explaining things?
So Ionic is built on top of Angular.
Okay.
So
we need to understand Angular.
At least a little bit.
It's the foundation.
Yeah. Not that it's entirely necessary. I mean, if you go in to learn Ionic, you're going to learn the Angular parts of Ionic. But,
Okay.
We're in this journey of learning, this step after step after step. We might as well follow the steps. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Products. We have a store, and I'm going to hand this over to you.
Okay.
Because you are the person.
I'm the person. I'm a human. So
we
have
human.
We have a store with products.
Right.
That we're just messing around with because this Angular gave us this to mess around with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, did I talk about data binding? Probably not. Pull up the VS Code. Maybe I should explain this for a second.
Here?
Yep. Close that out.
Close what?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I use this as an example of the way that code works. One of the big problems that a lot of these JavaScript frameworks aim to fix is what is called rendering.
Okay.
In here, you can see our little set demo is get element by id inner HTML, and then we're setting it into some things, right? We're setting the inner HTML of the document. We're changing what is actually being said. So what we could have done is we could say set time to wedding, and then have that just be a variable that gets calculated. And it just sits and changes the variable state, okay? But what is going to happen is the only time that you're actually going to see that is if you're calling this every single time. Like, maybe not this exactly, but you're having to interact and tell the DOM being document object. Wow, I'm having a hard time today. Whatever that last M word is, you're telling the DOM, I want you to do these things and display this stuff.
Okay.
So one of the problems is, well, let's say you have 1,000 variables, and if you change one, oh, well, you should just change the one variable that, things are tied to. Well, what if you have variables that are dependent upon that variable, right?
Uh-huh.
And so then you have to trigger, and what most of these different frameworks are called is a digest loop. So basically they go through, figure out, okay, if you change this date, what pieces do I need to go through and recalculate and change on the page? And that's something that Angular is going to do, and that's something we kind of call data binding. Okay. So that you don't have to physically tell
it to go change everything?
Yeah. You just say, here's the new value, you figure out how to display this and do all the, all the different ripples that is what's going to happen after that change happens.
Okay.
So we can go back to the other code. That's one of the reasons to use Angular or React. You can just minimize. So I'm going to try to stop saying so. Right now we don't have any products. One of the things that Angular does, the way that Angular structures their data flows is that they have the components, which these are. You have your product list component, yeah. You have these different things, and then which you'll have is services. And the services will be responsible for having that data available for you. For example, we have, for the Robotic Bartender, we'll have a recipe service. And what that will do is you'll hand it a set of, say, requirements. It has to have vodka, or it has to do this, or whatever, and it will go out to the API that we're planning on hitting, figure out what different drinks you can make with those things, and do a little bit of state management, and then hand it back to the actual display. But you don't really want to be doing all of that kind of calculations right there, because it just kind of gets a little muddled. The idea being, in software, you want to disassociate things by concern. So if you have our Robotic Bartender app isn't going to do payroll for robots.education. That doesn't make sense. Yes, they're both software, but they should be completely separated, and there's no reason for them to be tied together.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of the same thing you want to do throughout softwares. You want to separate things by concern as much as you can, and as much as it makes logical sense. Does that make sense? Because it's thinking, I hate the terms a lot, but Legos, you want to have everything to do with one little thing in one Lego block, and you can put it over here, you can put it over here, and then you can build on top of them and build stuff, right?
Okay.
So that's a lot of metadata. And by metadata, I mean theory and abstract understandings. So let's actually do some coding.
Okay.
I believe if you go into products.ts, it's an empty array. Down 4. One more, too far.
It's environment, products.ts.
Okay, so we have products. Go look at app component.
What? In this list or that?
App.component on the left.
Ah.
Okay, so that thing is empty. Oh, because it's returning the HTML. Cool.
What's empty?
This little class. It doesn't have any state or any variables associated with it. It's just returning that HTML. Which if you open up the HTML, my guess is it's very straightforward. app.html, yeah. So routers are, when you look at the URL, the name, it's like stackblitz.com/angular/bunch of letters.
Mm-hmm.
What a router does is say, you're coming to my page, and my page is stackblitz.com. The router says if you go to /angular, you're going to some set of places, and then slash is another, like, is the single place of that set, right? Like, you think about it like house addresses, like /angular could be like /Utah, and / could be like an address, right? So it's kind of like narrowing down where you actually want to be.
Okay.
The way the router outlet works with Angular is it will grab that. You'll set it up in the module. If you go down to right there. Okay, you don't set it up in the module. You set it up somewhere. It's been too long since I've used this, I guess. Is it in here? Oh, we're not actually doing routing, that's why. So I think it just defaults router modules right here. Oh, yeah, okay. So we're saying this is what we're doing. The router module for root function, and we're going to pass it in an array of things. Those objects are going to have this signature, as some would say, with a path property and a component property. So saying when we go to this normal nothing, just a standard default page, I want you to use this product list component, which is this thing right here. Now this has products equals products. Well, if that's the case, why is it not showing up here? Oh, because there's no code here. Okay. I mean, I guess. Okay, now I know where we actually need to start. So we have products coming. This import is bringing them from this file. That may not be obvious, but there's our data. Now, this could be something like an external server API, such as a recipe API. But this is kind of standing in as a, what you would call it, test? Kind of like proof of concept. Words are hard. Are you okay?
Words are very hard.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. In the product list component, we're going to actually do some stuff.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and click there, and we're going to actually have some code that will display what's going on here. Okay. So what we'll probably do is a list. I believe it is a li tag. So if you remember tags with the alligator boys. And then you suck, Paco. And then close it. You do a closing tag.
Those?
Well, you gotta do the slash and then another li. Remember? Yep.
That?
Yep.
Okay.
So li is list item. And we could put something in there. Maybe just put like ASDF or product or I don't know.
Right there.
Yeah. So if you save
It's
that,
ASDF.
ASDF is just like home row left hand.
Oh, I see.
So if you're just like trying to throw stuff together, I will console log ASDF way too often.
And you're just saying Control S because.
Yeah, Control S will save. It's
I
also populating over here, so you don't need to worry about it too much. So that's a list item. And we can have many list items, but if we're going to go through and do products, what you could do is code, I want this product and this product and this product and this product and this product, but it's a lot easier to say, for every product I have, just display a name and like a share button, right? So to do that, let's wrap your li with a, I think it's ul unordered list tag. Cool.
Which means we end it over there. So we want to do.
Yep. You are such a pain. I will force you to sit down.
This.
Okay. There you go. Go play.
That.
Yep.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is use the ng4. You remember the for loops a little bit?
NG4.
Just the standard. Oh, sorry. Standard for loop.
Where am I doing it?
Well, I'm just asking if you remember for loops and playing with those at all.
Vaguely.
So, you use for loops a lot when you're trying to iterate through an array or through this, set of data.
Yeah.
ng4 is doing the same thing, but it's here in the HTML rather than in the JavaScript. So, on line 3, before the li, you're going to add an enter. Okay, and then you're going to act like you're doing a tag, but you're not going to do a tag. So, and then star ng4 capital F well, now I'm confused. Yeah, okay, so you have to make it like a div tag.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. And you actually probably don't want to make it a div, you'll want to make it an li. So li, so you're saying I'm going to have a list item, and then ng4 equals, I think they have to be,
Touches.
yeah.
Okay.
Quotes. Let product of products. Yeah, let product of products.
Let product of products?
Yeah. I think so. Is that not right? Go back to the... Yeah, let product of products. So that products is referring to the products variable inside of the component. Okay, so we're saying...
Sorry, it's referring to what?
You click on your... Yep, that products variable.
This one?
Which is coming from that import. So now we can go here and you can actually print product inside of there and get rid of line 4. So what we're doing is, how we kind of did that there, and maybe leave it for just a second so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So right now we're saying for product of products, empty list item. So you have empty list item, empty list item, empty list item, ASDF. So you have 3 empty lists and then an ASDF. So what you can do is you use the data binding that I was talking about inside of that list item on line 3.
Inside of here, I do it where?
You do it inside of the 2 tags. Okay. Yep, bracket, curvy boy. or curly boy, product. I think it's actually double brackets on both sides. So, and then closing bracket, 2 of them. Cool. So what that is referring to is the product that you are getting from that file, which it's printing object because that product is not like a string, and that's what happens when you print an object. It's just saying it's an object. Does that make sense?
It's just informing you printed an object.
Right. So, what you can do is...
So, what exactly is this? We're just saying...
We're saying that
that?
we're saying... To print the variable, I want you to bind this text to the variable. So if that variable ever changes, you will change the text for me. So you can get rid of that. And then what we're going to do is go to the product.ts file. It's down midway, yep. So this is the things that we're getting. So what we can do is say print the name and then maybe a dash and then the description, or maybe the name dash price. Seems fairly straightforward. So product dot name.
Are you saying change that to product.name, or are you saying type product.name?
So that's going to access, boom, iPhone XL, iPhone mini, phone standard. And we could potentially put a price tag next to it by going there.
Baby, you realize you're pointing vaguely at the screen, and there's a lot of different places on here I can click. You gotta tell me where am I going?
Hi.
Am I going there or there?
So
inside curvy boys, outside curvy boys.
Outside curvy boys.
Okay.
Space dash. And then we're going to reference the product price with more curly, with another set of curvy boys. Curly boys.
Dot price? What did I do wrong? Oh, 2 of them?
Yep. If I'm just staring at you, making you feel bad, it's because I'm trying to see if you're going to just figure it out. Hi. So, you could clean it up, maybe add like a $sign in there, maybe space it out.
Would the $sign be out here with the dash, because we put a dash right there? Is that
Well,
what that dashes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're just trying to create however you want it to look. See? It just auto does the thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
But you're swapping out the data that's actually sitting behind the scenes with this fancy little
yeah. So
the
like
data binding.
if the price gets updated or the product is sold out or something,
Right.
it'll change the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's really cool.
One of the other things you can do is like ng ifs. So let's say, here's a good plan. We could have a like a wallet and an amount, and then what would happen is we would only show this product if the person had enough money in their wallet. Does that make sense? So let's go to the product list let's go to the component shouldn't pass to components. We have to make a service, and I'm not sure if I care to make a service right this second. So let's just put it in product list component. So product-list component.ts.
You're saying find that right here?
It's just below the highlighted one. And let's say cash on line, say 12.
Put in one that says cash.
Cash equals 704. And then semicolon. Okay, save. And then what we'll do, so right now we're, here the HTML is saying we have a list item. We're telling Angular with ng4 to, run through the different products.
Mm-hmm.
But we only want it to display conditionally at this point. So, go back to the HTML. What we're going to do is add another, we're going to nest another tag inside of the li tag.
Inside this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you should, but we need the data. So bring the variables inside as well. Yep.
What do you mean bring them inside?
So if you put a div tag right there.
Okay, so you want a div tag, but you want div at the beginning of this?
Well, we need to wrap that stuff in the div tag, or we're not going to be able to control it. Hi.
Is this not what you're saying to do?
No.
What are you saying to do?
So let's just go back and go ahead and put a div tag in there.
In where? Are you saying to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Because those are the children. And technically speaking, they're not children because they're not full-on components. But what we're doing is saying, here's my list item, which needs to be in here.
Mm-hmm.
But inside of that list item, I have a div, right? So now...
div means what again?
Division.
Okay.
A div is basically the go-to, I need this to be separated, but there's no... divs are used everywhere.
Okay.
In the real JavaScript world, because it's just saying I need a separate thing that's not connected directly.
Okay.
But I don't really care about formatting and stuff. So what we're going to do is kind of how we did the ng4 in the li tag. We're going to do an ng4 inside or ngif inside the div tag. Needs to be a property of the div tag. Hi.
What do you mean a property of it? Is that not still part of it? Because I have an opening and a closing.
You do, but
it has to be up here?
No, it just needs to be...
So that's just making it look pretty. It doesn't matter where it is, right?
Correct. Okay. And if you look over here, you have, your product name dash cost and then ngif equals.
Okay, so you want it inside of the...
Mm-hmm. So that's the difference between properties and children. Does that make sense? If it's a property of the tag, it is sitting inside of that first actual angle buoy. But if it's a child of the tag, it's sitting in between them.
The if.
And then that equals... And so if we only want this to display if a person has the cache, it will equal, and then parentheses, cache greater than product dot price. I said parentheses, but I meant...
Quotation?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's alright. Cool.
Bam. So it's still Princess and li tag, but you can see that it didn't show that first one because we only have $704 and the
other one was higher.
Yep.
Okay.
And so that lets you control what a person may or may not see.
Okay.
I think...
So we could use that to control what they can see as far as what drinks are available?
Exactly. So
cool.
one of the things you
That'd
could
be
do
awesome.
is one could just say never show anything at all. And so, like, really reasonably what makes the most sense in, like, my super awesome UX world that I totally know what I'm talking about, but I'm not. If I was, say, on this app and if I was browsing available drinks in, like, just, like, browse, then it makes perfect sense to just display all the things that I want to see. So you could just do this ng4, all of drinks, and then if I have the ingredients for that drink, then display it. If I don't have it, just make it go away. And then inversely, let's say if I'm doing a search for some drink and I know what I'm looking for, and it knows what I'm looking for, I could say Long Island iced tea, and it'll be grayed out saying, oh, we don't have this. And so that doesn't necessarily mean we don't show it, but it could say, oh, if we don't have what we need, gray it out, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I could be wrong, but let's try this. Cut. Hit Control V for me. Yeah, can't have multiple template bindings in one element. So, I guess what you could do is put if we did a div right here, then that would, I think, give me what we want. Oh,
Don't you
yeah,
still
we
need
can't
two
do that.
closing divs?
We
can't do what?
I'm just trying to make it so that it doesn't show that little dot. So I think what we have to do is we have to put the ng4 there, and then the ng if here.
Okay, you need, and
Go up here and fix this one. There we go. So now we're saying here's a div. I want a bunch of divs, and then inside of that div, if this holds true, then create the list item. Whereas before, it was saying I want a list item no matter what.
Okay.
And then if the thing is true.
So you put the if inside of the give me a list.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's important to keep track of where you are and like think about this, because that's not as uncommon problem, especially in my experience with Angular, figuring out, because you can only have an ng4 or an ng if in an element, you'll end up nesting stuff like this all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not uncommon at all.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of the basics. Let's see, is there something I missed? Oh, so remember how I was saying, like, if it's inside, it's a property? Like, yeah. If it's like in here, it's a property of the component, and then these are children.
Yeah.
So that's true, but you also have to see the way that Angular does something like this. Is you're binding this title variable or class, I can't remember what the correct term would be, to this function, basically. So if we go back to here, and you see, like, we had like our A tags and our like a class name, you can actually say a class equals some variable or some set of functionality, and Angular will do that for you. So that's what those little like square brackets are for. I'm sure we'll use them. And then the other one is this curly boys, and this is like a event binding of on click. So whenever this click happens, I want you to click the share. I want you to invoke the share function.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of a lot. I know that this has been a bit of a crash course in everything, but you really only get to like feel confident about it once you actually like do it for a little while. So maybe with the last couple minutes we'll just hurry and install Ionic, because that's where we're going to do some like real coding. Does that make sense? Ionic React? What? Shut the front door. Okay, well, I might want to look at that, because I really prefer React over Angular. Huh. Well, it looks like we're always installing the first one. So remember how I was talking about all those like Angular specific things that I wasn't a huge fan of? We may not have to do that. Stress. Cool. Ionic Studio? Why? I actually don't. I think we might have killed our Npm install. Do you know? Let's see.
What?
Cool. So we still have Npm.
What is NPM?
Npm stands for Node Package Manager.
Okay.
Oh. I hate Windows. I should not be doing this on Windows. Here we are. So we're installing with that. That'll give us the whole Ionic CLI. But it looks like we have... Yeah, I want to look and see how easy and / straightforward it would be to use this Ionic React. So we're going to look at that, because hard fan of React. So one of the things, so in Ionic or in React, instead of having this whole ng4, you had ng4 equals so that's how we kind of did that before. In Ionic, basically what you do is or not Ionic, oh my hell, React, you would do this. Products.map product, and then you would put and that would do a similar-ish thing. One of the things I really don't like about Angular is that like quotes are, in my opinion, not something that should be looked at by the compiler. This is obviously being looked at by the compiler, where this is very much so. This is code, and it should read as code. Whereas this is like, it shouldn't be code, but it is code. That's my opinion. And one of the reasons why I think Angular is losing favor in the world of web dev. So you'll be better off learning React if we can do this anyways. Cool. Let's see. Where's this one? So we did what is called an Npm install. Npm, standing for Node Package Manager, is super awesome, and it does a whole bunch of stuff that you don't have to worry about. The running joke is noun.js, being a noun, be insert any noun here. .js is probably a JavaScript library for something. I literally found a boat.js, which was a JavaScript library to help calculate the like coefficients of friction with like boat sizes. So, yeah. That's one of the things that JavaScript is amazing about, and I appreciate. There are a whole bunch of security concerns and like a million other things to keep track of, but if you're looking for something specific, there's a very, very good chance that the thing that you're looking for, somebody else has already thought and has made something for it. Anyways, so we did an install, meaning we went to npm and said, hey, I want this thing called Ionic at the latest version. And it's like, cool, here's some stuff. And we added 148 packages from a bunch of people, removed some old packages, and did some other things. Now, that should give us this ability to use the Ionic keyword. Cool, and now we know that we have Ionic installed. The Ionic CLI being command line interface. CD to prod. Desktop projects. Did we make a robotic? We did. We're gonna call this Robotic Bartender app, I think. Yeah. Okay. Ionic start Robotic Bartender app -- type equals React. Oh no. Command ran non-interactively due to non-interactive flag CI being detected. Template must not be empty. What? Oh, blank. Blank. So Ionic and Angular have a lot of like boilerplate and kind of like persnickety connecting of things in the way they want, and so Angular wants that Ionic being a superset of Angular being a superset of Ionic built on top of. I'm gonna stop trying to use big words. Built on top of Angular means that it has that same problem. So they developers took this Angular CLI, which did a lot of that management and made it easier for you to do that, and made a Ionic version. And so that's what's happening right now is this building out a blank app, and that's what that blank means there. Okay. We're calling it my app, the Robotic Bartender app, and we're passing in the argument the type React, so then it creates a React app instead of a standard Angular-based app. So that will run, and it honestly will probably take like 10 minutes. And that seems like a great place to... Oh, hey, look, it's done. Cool. Well, we're going to play with this, or I'm going to play with this, and we will hopefully be better about this week.
Hi.
Hi.
All right.
Okay, bye!